Hello, and welcome to this course where we're going to help you build excellence in your oral communication. This course is different from the ones that you would have seen and that you would see around, is that in which we're going to do actual work of building excellence. And it is expected that while you may not become excellent at the end of this course, but you will understand and you would have covered a journey of reaching the excellence on your oral communication. And this course, as you know, oral communication is one of the skills, is the topmost skills that recruiters are looking for in recruiting. So, welcome to this course. I'm Arun Singhal, your management coach and mentor with 40 years of experience in people development. I started way back my management journey in 1981, which is 40 years now, by passing out my MBA in marketing and finance from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. Then I was lucky from the campus to get into Unilever as a management trainee, and I worked there for 8 years in sales, marketing, and general management. I was kind of lucky to get that break of working in general management at that early age. I was even luckier after that to get in Johnson and Johnson, a wonderful company, and I worked there for 16 years. There I joined as a head of business for consumer business, head of sales in consumer business, and worked in marketing, operations, supply chain, general management. And my last corporate assignment was in a company called Dumex. We were more known by our brands like Proteinix and Farex. This business is now part of Danone Nutrition. 2007, I started my own business. I set up this company called Enrichmenters with an objective, with the mission of passing on all the knowledge that acquired in those 26 years to all of you who, with the mission of helping you do even better than what I could do. And that's what I've been doing since then. Now it's been 14 years. So, what are we going to do in this module of the course on building excellence in oral communication? The purpose of this module is to give you an overview of how can you build excellence in oral communication. At the end of this module, you will learn what is communication. We will answer a very basic question, but you will find that even that insightful. What we will look at and understand is what are your audience looking at. There could be two kinds of audience. One could be public audience, one could be face-to-face. We will look at both of them and say, what are your audience looking for? What is the right way to communicate? We will briefly look at what is the right way to communicate and how can you build the right content in your communication. And this course is built on my 4 years of work at Indian Institute of Management, where I used to help the management students sharpen their communication skills because we found that the topmost skill that recruiters were looking for was the oral communication. So let's start with some conversation. What do you think? What is communication as you define it? You want to take a pause, stop this video for 30 seconds, note down on a piece of paper, and come back and tally and see what you thought and what it could be more than what you thought. See, in its fundamental way, communication is about sharing your ideas and information. You have something in your mind. You want to share that, and that you do by communicating. It's a process, as a simple process, which involves a sender, a receiver, and a message to be sent in between. Right. Now, the question is, what is effective communication? Now, effective communication is a process where the message is received, the sender sends the message, and the receiver receives the message, but the message is received and understood. Please understand that word. Not only received, not only sent. It is sent, it is received and understood by the receiver in the manner the sender intended to be. Very important. If I send you a message, first it could happen is you don't even receive it. You are switched off or you're not available. Second, you receive it, but you interpret it in a different manner. You understand in a different manner. So effective communication would be if I can communicate to you and ensure that you have understood the way I wanted you to understand. A common mistake people do is to focus only on the delivery of the message. I have done my job, I have communicated. No, that's not communication. Communication would be, as you would see, the gold model in communication that we'll talk about, gold standard, talks about ensuring that you understand, you ensure that your message is received and understood in the manner that you want it to communicate. So communication is a two-way process. It involves sending the message, ensuring it is received and understood the way it was supposed to be. Yeah. So what are the objectives of good communication? You would probably get some answers to that question as a result of our previous conversation. So what do you think? Want to take 30 seconds? Note down on a piece of paper, come back and tally and see how accurate you are, or what did you learn out of this whole conversation? Right. So communication, as we saw, is about the purpose of good communication is to provide your views, opinions on a question asked or a subject asked. Like I've been asked, I'm trying to communicate to you about what is effective communication. And one of the things, so it's about providing my views, my opinions, etc., on this subject of communication. So I'm trying to communicate to you. Ensuring that my views, your views and opinions are conveyed effectively and fully. Now, unfortunately, in this process, I am unable to back check with you whether you understood it fully or not. But there are ways we will see in this course by which we will do that. And another thing that most of us forget is that also the good communication involves establishing a positive relationship in the process that allows the communication process to continue. Very, very important. Because what happens is if that you do not establish a positive relationship, the receiver will switch off. Don't you? If you don't like someone, don't you switch off? You keep looking at receiving what you want to receive and interpret the way you want to interpret it. So it's very important that you build positive relationship while doing a communication process so that the communication process continues and your chances of message being received and understood the way you want it to are significantly better. So in the communication process, if you have an audience, so what do you think your audience is looking for in general? They may be specific related to subject, but in general, if you were to look at 40,000 feet high, a helicopter view, what do you think they're looking at? Want to think about it? Come back, pause the video. Let's do that. So we asked this question to a lot of people. In my working at the Indian Institute of Management, I used to ask this question to recruiters. What are you looking for? And I got these answers. They basically said, hey, Arun, you're basically looking at two things. In our communication with the students, when we interview students, we ask the questions. First, we're looking at do they communicate in the right way? And what is that right way? We will briefly touch that. It's the manner in which you communicate that makes it possible for us to receive and understand what they want to tell in the way they want to tell. So that's the right way is one important thing the audience is looking for. Second thing, they're looking for the content. Are you going to tell me what I'm looking for? Are you going to not tell me what I'm not looking for? Or are you also, even those things that I know you're not going to spend too much time? So what is the right content? If I ask you something, are you going to tell me that is relevant to what I'm asking? Or are you going to take me around the bushes, beat around the bushes and take me around a world tour and come back and say, sir, that's what I know, but I know this is not right. So that second most important thing is the content being the right. Make sense? All right. So let's dig a little deep. Since this is an overview, I'm not going to take you in any in-depth of each of these, but I'm going to give you a quick overview of what is the right way to communicate. What do you think? Any thoughts? I know it could be a little early, but anyway. So why don't you guys think about what is the right way to communicate? Note down on a piece of paper a couple of points and then tally back what did you have in common? What did you learn new? Okay, let's look at what is the right way to communicate. Since it's a matter of building positive relationship in the process, go back, remember that definition of communication and objective. So we need to start with building rapport and trust. And why is that important? Because if you do not build rapport and trust in your communication process, first, you will not build positive relationship. Second, if you build rapport and trust, then there's a greater chances that your message will be received properly and understood a lot better than what it would be without building the rapport and trust. And this is true of a public communication. This is true of a one-to-one, face-to-face communication. If many of your students, also true of your interviews. So one of the right way to communicate is to build the rapport and trust. The second thing is about visibility tuning. It's not only important to communicate verbally, but also non-verbally. Are you sending the right signals? Are you visibly tuned in to what the audience is talking about? And we will talk about how can you be visibly tuned in a gold standard, and we will actually practice all these steps. The third thing that requires in the right way to communicate is to listen to the question. If it is a question answer session and you are communicating one-to-one or even one-to-many, and if there's a question being asked, first you need to listen the question carefully. We think communication is only about talking. That's a myth. Communication is a two-way process. While you need to talk definitely to convey your ideas and opinion, you also need to listen the question carefully. The word is carefully and listen. Then you need to understand the question carefully, right? Because if it's a two-way process and someone wants to know something, you need to understand the question. And many times our communication goes off tangent, goes off the mark because we don't understand the question clearly and we answer without even realizing that. And if you don't understand the question, it's absolutely good practice to probe if required. And I'm bringing you these definitions and insights from a wonderful book that I did as a part of my executive coaching called The Skilled Helper. And there it was based on clinical psychologists trying to reach out to communicate to clinical patients actually. And that's these best practices are coming from. So understand the question carefully, clearly, and probe if required. And we will talk about how do we do that, and we will even practice that. Give yourself time to think. There's no hurry in the world. I mean, the world is not going to collapse if you take 30 seconds to think, as I've been asking you to think, right? So give yourself time to think. Then respond, having thought, respond confidently, very important, accurately. Accurately meaning answer what they're looking for, clearly, with a clarity of thought. And this is one common thing that we feedback we get. Hey, your students don't have clarity of mind. So you need to be clear. And in short, don't go on and on and on and on. With right feelings, you need to express your feelings as well. Make it a dialogue, take turn. And how do you do that? We will talk about how can we do that. And we will practice that also. Make sense? Do you get something new? Wonderful. Let's talk about the content. How can you build the right content? What are your thoughts? Take 30 seconds, think about it, note down on a piece of paper, come back, tally notes. Wonderful. Let me share with you what I think you can build your right content. It's a basically 3-step process. And we will cover this in a lot more details in the second lecture as we go along. First is to understand the expectations of your audience. If you are required to deliver accurately, clearly, in short, isn't it important to understand what are you expecting? And the golden rule is that once you understand, you tell them what they want to know. You don't tell them what they already know or what they don't want to know. So it's important to understand the expectation from audience. And how do you do that? We will talk about that also in the second lecture. Then you structure your content as per the expectation. Stay away from the temptation to do as you wanted to do, what you think it could be right for them. If you think something is right, clarify in the first stage. Okay, is this you expecting? Would you also like to know this? So that kind of expectation clarification. But once you understand the expectation, structure your content. Structure means take time to think. Note down on a piece of paper or PowerPoint or in your mind. whatever is your method, as per the expectation, and then deliver interactively. Very important. It is said that when you deliver your communication, you should not be talking more than 50%. I know I'm being wrong here in terms of my own delivery, but because we don't have as much two-way interaction as we can do now. So deliver interactively. And how can you deliver interactively? Also that we will talk about. And flexibly. Meaning what? Well, you started with some understanding of expectation. It might happen that as you deliver and deliver interactively, there may be things that you haven't thought about, you haven't structured. So be prepared to get out of your structure and answer the communication needs of the people that you're talking about. Make sense? Wonderful. So what did we learn in this module? Let's summarize. What we learned is effective communication is a process where the message is received and understood. Important words, two important words. Received and understood by the receiver in the manner the sender wanted it to be, intended to be. So it's not just about sending, but it's also being received and understood. Very, very important. We tend to forget that. Good communication or effective communication aims at also establishing positive relationship in the process that allows the process to continue and thrive. To make your communication more effective by being understood and by being received. Because if you do not have a positive relationship, you have a large probability, a strong probability of being shut off completely. What are the audience looking for? Audience is looking for right content and right way. And we briefly touched on what is the right way to communicate. And we said it starts with building trust and rapport, visibly tuning in, listening to the questions or question carefully, understanding the questions clearly, probing if required. And how to probe, we will talk about later. Give yourself time to think and structure your thoughts and then respond confidently, accurately, clearly, and in short. And if you understand the question and give yourself time to think, you would see you'll be able to respond a lot more confidently, accurately, clearly, in short, with the right feelings. And then take turns and make it a dialogue. How can you build the right content? You can build the right content in a 3-step process, and we will talk about that in more details in the second lecture. Understanding expectations of your audience. What is it that they want to know? It could be as simple as that. Then you structure your communication as per the expectation. Thinking about it, noting in a PowerPoint, in a Word, in a sheet of paper, in your mind. And delivering interactively and flexibly. So what do we do in the next module? We get into the work straight away. We start by understanding the gold standard. We have a gold standard defined that we used that in the Institute of Management of Udaipur for 4 years. And that worked pretty well for us in improving the communication skills and bringing up to the level of excellence. So we will understand that gold standards oral communication in the next module. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed this session, beginning to enjoy this session. And I look forward to seeing you again. See you in the next lecture where we'll talk about the gold standard. We'll understand the gold standard and take it forward.